I tell you, but. Okay, we do have minutes. Let's see, what do we have? We have minutes. Does anybody have any concerns, questions, whatever about the minutes?
Does anybody remember?
I know. It's been forever. June. Oh my gosh.
That is a long.
That even
time.
feels longer than I realized.
Yeah.
Wow. Brooke was even here at that meeting. Well, you know, Karen Sublette resigned. And of course, District 6 is still vacant.
Pending.
But they have somebody picked out.
Oh, yeah?
There's something wrong with the background check process and they haven't been able to complete it yet. They don't think there's a problem with
Yeah.
her. They just.
You might want to clarify that.
Yeah, they do. It's not about her. It's about the system that the city
Yeah.
contracts with went
Yeah.
down and they haven't been able to finish it. Yeah, so.
Hopefully it's not the same one that is software for the district court system. When we were down to 2.5 or 3 months, had no access to new files.
Yeah,
We're still trying to recover
I
on that.
bet. That's nasty. So, okay, minutes good. All in favor?
I,
4-0. Okay. Now, the meat of the matter. I think we all know why we're here on this, and we'll just go through page by page, if that's okay. And I know it's probably been a while since some of you have read it or whatever, but
Did you want to look at the new website at all before you jump in?
there it is. I see it now. Thank you.
If you guys want to get out of here, I'll do it real quick.
Yeah, we're just gonna show you the new
Yeah,
website.
the city launched a new website platform, and so this is what the Ethics Advisory Board page looks like now. We just have a pretty quick overview of it. The meeting information, this link takes you to view all the agendas and minutes. It shows us the scheduled meetings, so as we cancel them, if we don't meet a certain month, I go in and delete it and it takes it off the calendar, and then our board members. A link to apply and our ethics complaint dashboard is down here, and then up here for the public, we have some buttons they can click and see our ethics policy. This gives them the information for submitting an ethics complaint. These are board training materials. This has all the ethics policy, the core coma stuff, and then just directing people to me, the public, if they have any questions, and I'll filter it either to staff or Kathy or when we get an ethics officer.
Do you mind going back to the homepage?
The City of Wichita homepage?
Because I just wanted to mention that that's the biggest change, because typically people have been like, how do we get to that? And I just say, go to the homepage, wichita.gov, cursor down, you'll see Ethics Advisory Board, but of course they took it off the homepage. It's not new anymore, but you just hit the one that says boards and commissions right there, that little circle.
Up
And
here?
then that little circle.
Oh, there's a lot of ways to get to
Yeah,
it.
you can get there.
Yeah, you can click boards and commissions, this circle,
And then just.
and
cursor down
then
to E.
just go down to ethics, yeah, or you can navigate to government. This boards and committees, if you click view all, takes you to this page, or you can get to it through city council initiatives will also give you.
Okay. So the easy way is wichita.gov, boards and commissions, and then just go down to E. And I only want to tell you that because I know there are times people see your name on here and they're gonna ask you things or whatever. So it's easiest just wichita.gov, find the ethics board and go from there.
I ironically pulled it up today, and if you just type in Wichita Ethics Advisory Board, Google, it goes straight to.
Just Google, pulls it
Up
up.
to the page. Good.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I haven't seen it.
Love it.
I wanted to see who's still on the.
What did you type?
I think I typed.
Ethics
Wichita
Advisory
Ethics Advisory Board.
Yeah, the first article that comes up. Oh.
Maybe, I don't know what it is, but I went straight
Something a little
there.
different, yeah.
Can't say
Wichita
for
Ethics.
sure what I did, but I didn't navigate through the
Hmm.
new, cause I've never seen the.
Maybe you might have been in a different search engine than Google, maybe. The one that comes up on your computer might
So it
be
comes up on-
Bing or.
I was on the dark web.
Well, there you go. Aren't we glad we're on the dark web?
If I can just say,
Anyway.
before you get to the meat, I did, Brandon Johnson appointed me, and so he invited me to speak to his Saturday morning district meeting about what the ethics board does. And some of people in his district were happy to see that there's an ethics board, wanted to know how they could file complaints. And I just made sure they knew that we were an advisory board. And I think with you talking about the website, they were happy that they can go online and do it. But I think the website being more user-friendly is only gonna help.
It really is. a
Those
lot more
people.
user-friendly.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah. Well, before, and we had some conversations as they were drafting it, move this around and move this higher and that kind of thing, but before, you could go through the whole page and never know who to call or how to get home.
That's-
I mean, we made it to where you could file a complaint, but it's like, I want it to be easier to like ask a question instead of people feeling like the only thing they can do is file a complaint. Cause we did get some complaints that we didn't bring to you all, because when I read them, I'm like, okay, well, this isn't an ethics complaint. It was like the only form out there, so they filled it out, you know, that kind of thing. So we put her email address on it.
So if you guys have any feedback on the design of the page, I'm open to it too. I'm happy to adjust things. If you guys get feedback from the public on ways to make it better to navigate, just let me know.
It's a great page and the city's page is a lot better. And I'll just say this because I look at city pages all the time in other cities. A lot of cities don't put their meeting schedules on for their boards. They don't put the minutes on. And I'm just sitting here going through city pages and going, okay, come on. I mean, really? You've got public meetings being held and you're not even like posting a PDF of their minutes or something? I mean,
Board meetings are much better on our page now.
it's a well-done system.
We have a public calendar, so people can actually go and see what board meetings are happening, what night, and go click on agendas, minutes, recordings of the meeting. It's a lot better.
We didn't want you to think that nothing had been done since June 14th.
Yeah.
Because we've been working on that for one. And then the training videos, because we have a new website, we had to update the training PowerPoints and videos because they have references to the website. And so we had to update some of those too. So that happened. Yeah, thank you. Shall we jump in now? So I think if we just go page by page to this markup, as you know, the side comments and questions, I think will guide us through it a little bit. So the first page is obviously just a couple of grammar editorial things. Any questions or thoughts about page 1? Moving on to page 2, we actually have a new paragraph that Nate inserted, which I thought was a great addition. Just clarified things. Anything on page 2? And then page 3 is John's work, as I recall. The gift definition was weird in the old policy because it was in one place and then it was other stuff in the other section on the other page in an attempt to get it all in one spot for one. But then clarified, I think that the gift is once you accept it. If you accept it, it's a gift. Otherwise, it's an offer of a gift. And it was a clarity that you don't have to report to anybody that someone offered you something, but if you didn't take it, then it wasn't a gift, so. Trying to think of what else to say about that definition. It solves several things.
We had the question of campaign contributions come up somewhat recently, so I like that. Clarity, honestly.
I don't know if I meant to leave the highlight.
Well, from my point forward.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. No, yeah, we had a question about that actually for how the state one applies, so I like that clarity, yeah.
Yeah, because someone had brought up, yeah, you've already started explaining it. We have gifts here and then the section that refers back to gifts. It said some other stuff that maybe wasn't consistent with that. I'm like, well, that makes sense. Here's a gift, and then so when you refer to gift later, you know exactly what you're talking about. And somebody had brought up discounts too, for example. factor, things like that, so.
Yes, yes.
Gifts in there to kind of cover that.
The old definition said discounts or something. Now, the thing is, I don't think that you meant to change it to 100. And I think you and I talked about that, but then it didn't get, it's my fault, it didn't get in this draft. Because the definition is $150, over $150, right?
I don't know,
I
I
think,
don't care what it is.
Yeah,
as
I
long
think
as
you
it's
and
the
I-
same in both.
yeah, we were trying to combine these
It was
without
100.
making, yeah, without making substantive changes unless we literally thought there needed to be a substantive change. And that was one, I think I caught it and then forgot to fix it. So the 100 should be 150. So it's value over 1 year period. So for example, it could be lunch every month that adds up to 150. But if it's just lunch up to 100, below 150, that's fine. There's not, okay, okay. And the other part of the gift definition is that it said certain things for over $50 versus, and it's like, okay, how many definitions do we have? So this is,
21 now.
this is very clarifying.
Do you like relatives? It seems pretty broad, if not limited to just spouse.
The way that they wrote the policy was relatives, and yeah, they defined relatives and, we have not attempted to change that. I'm trying to find, there it is. Yeah, it's very broad. In fact, in the training video, I made a point, the one I narrated, I made a point of saying, this is not just about you and your spouse and your kid. Go read the definition of relatives, because
On page 3.
it's broad, yeah.
We still tie it into someone who may be doing business with the city, don't we? Because if your son sends you $100 or $150 for Christmas, you have to report that to an advisory board member. And he's not doing any business with the city. He's on the East Coast. And so does it tie in at some point in here that it's from a person that has business with the city?
I think that's how it is
I was thinking
functionally
I saw it in there
operating.
somewhere.
So within, to go to page 5, and I think the new subsection J is the operative section on gifts. And then ties that to specific donor, intended or has the appearance or effect of
Okay,
influence.
that's where it's at.
And that also, I think, might cut down sort of the outward sort of grouping of all of your relatives, like as they get farther away, maybe that influence is a little bit less too, is kind of how. we
It's
think
someone
about
that
it as
would have
well.
no business that you know of with the city, so they're not, couldn't be possibly influencing you on anything.
Have an interest in the city or an interest that may be affected. Intended or has the appearance or effect of influencing the performance of the official.
I thought I saw that in there somewhere, so it's not in the gift definition, in this.
Yeah, it's in the code of A through J, I believe is the last one. No, now it's not. It used to be A. Okay. So we've got gift. So now we're on to page 4. And this one is conduct themselves so as to maintain public confidence in the city and its elected representatives. As you guys, some of you will remember. Hello. Some of you will remember one of the cases that we dealt with last year. We stumbled over this language, performance of their job duties. Well, city elected officials aren't employed by the city. They're not employees. They don't have a job. So that's why we wanted to get those words out of there. Okay, page 5.
One thing I might actually suggest
Mhm.
there really quick, maybe instead of elected representatives, we use officials more. Like the definition we have early on, because that includes the advice of the board members as well as the city.
City officials shall. Yeah,
Is that under, are you talking about B?
Yeah, because we hadn't used elected representatives really before that exactly thing, maybe just tying it to officials could be a little.
Is there any type of
I think that's a good catch.
definition for official though in here?
Yes, that includes, yeah, that's the
On page 3, it's H.
mayor, council members and board members. We might want to just take out advice. So we define advisory board before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just it includes, because we have that question of whether this is an advisory board and everything, but I think that definition kind of goes beyond that a little too, so. Sorry, to make up problems. My bad.
And it's official. We'll take
Yeah.
out elected reps and put in officials. Good catch. Okay, so let's see, we're on page 5. And J is more of the gifts. I think we're looking at that. Okay, so the first comment of maybe something to discuss is whether the gift definition should be expanded to add discounted rates from contractors. Oh, and then the 5150 thing. Okay, I'm gonna go back to this.
Well, we added discounts to the definition of gifts in response to that comment.
Yeah.
I guess the theory is if you say contractors, does that by definition exclude other discounts, or is it better? to
No, the way you
generally
did it is, I think, yeah, you solved that one.
Okay.
For sure.
I was talking past the closing.
No, apologies, I did not translate that one well. But I will, it's probably a good time to point out the old policy, where is it? Okay. Is it? We'll have to, I think we're fine, but I think we take out that whole 150-50 thing. The way it was, let me make sure I'm looking right.
And it used to have, and I'm not sure, it maybe got just missed in my apologies if I contributed to this. The policy says under J currently, and we don't have this in the draft here. Further, a public official shall report any gift or gratuity valued at $50 or more
That's the thing.
on a yearly basis. Yeah, which was very confusing with the 150, which is why I think maybe we just did that early on. So
Yeah.
it didn't show my work.
That'll be,
Apologies.
yeah, that'll be something I think that when I summarize it or we present it to the council for approval, we'll have to say now. There's a substantive thing that we're recommending because we ran into conflicts and misunderstandings. When you define a gift as over 150, and then you have a thing that says if you accept something over $50, you have to put it on that report that you have to do at the end of the year. And it's like, why would you put it on a report if it's not defined as a gift? And so it was like, they must have created the policy like trying to compromise between, I'm just guessing, people on the bench who couldn't decide if 150 was too high. So they said, well, if it's over 50, you report it. So it's not bad, but we want to know, we want a public record that you took those lunches and those tickets. Well, if it's okay, why would you need to do that? So that's what we'll have to just kind of point it out to. This is a substantive change, but we think it's necessary, but you tell us if you don't like it.
Oh, and I think I did actually break that out, and this is just a page thing. That's
Is
a
it?
K now. Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, I'm just. I'm looking at
there it
so
is.
many
It's
different
still
ones
there.
now.
isn't it? Yeah. So that's why I thought we should talk about it, because we didn't take it out. It's in K on page 6. Thank you. I know it's just hard to follow along through this.
Oh,
but-
maybe.
So the question is, should we say, council, we think that it makes sense to take it out? Because, I mean, not, unless you want to say you don't want people taking things over $50, well, then that's a gift. That's the definition of a gift, is anything over $50. Or you say or, right?
Mhm.
Oh, one thing over $50 or because the 150 is accumulated from the whole year
That's some
from one donor.
interest in knowing, I don't know any people getting $50 gifts, even though it's not.
Yeah. I mean, we could do it either way. You could either just,
And we'll see, if we do leave it in, we probably need to change the definition of gift to take out the number and basically resubstitute it back, but that is kind of a drafting.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Well, and in K, we wouldn't call it a gift.
Yeah, or that,
Or
yeah,
that.
that's fine too, yeah.
Well, maybe I'll take that one to the city manager and say, look, you were there when they were drafting the policy. Is it important that we have something for $50 items? Because if that was your intent, we need to just redefine gift instead of. I'll do that. Because it really is a substantive thing. I mean, I don't know that, I think it's verified to say, well, the advisory board doesn't really care how you want to define it, but whichever it is, we just want to make it more clear.
Yeah, if they wanna keep it, you could redefine gift as 50 and then in the provision that says what's bad. Let's say 150, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you can do it that way, or just say it's any amount and then define the amounts that you can't do in the operative sections later. There's a few different ways we could approach it.
Yeah.
So just kind of depending on the info we have.
What they're trying to say is it's okay to take. Is it over 50?
So it's like, okay to take anything under 50 and not report it. You can take between 50 and 150, but you've got to report that. And you can't take over 150.
There you
It's
go.
kind
And
of
that's the way, if
the
it said it
sequence
that
of
way,
it.
that would make a lot
Yes.
more sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I think that's
Because
right.
now it just says,
That's a
make a
practical
report. Yeah. Okay, so
It's a lot clearer.
It is.
Put it that way.
under 50 is okay. 50 to
50.
150, yeah, because it's over 150 to 150
149.
or three
Or, yeah.
quarters. 50 more.
Minus
Well, no, that's,
149.99.
Yeah. Anyways,
That's the problem if you go, if you speak in brackets.
no, it
So
really
it's-
is 150 because the way
The
the gift.
gift is 150, so a
It's
gift
the
is
value of
149.
yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
Say
so,
more than 150?
Yeah.
I was accidentally right.
so over 150 is no bueno, bad, don't do it. 50 to 150. And under 50 is, don't even tell us about it. Okay,
I just have one picky question. In J, influencing the performance of official duties of an official sounds a little redundant.
yeah,
Can we just say of an official duties?
Is that because of the Whipple page where he was not doing official duties,
But he was unofficial.
but he was official? Maybe we can find a different word to.
I think you can just take out the first official, that might cover it as well.
yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Then it's just their duty.
Yeah,
as an
it's just a little
official.
bit
I think
redundant.
that's probably exactly, yeah. Trying to clarify, sometimes you do some stuff that maybe isn't super official.
Yeah.
Whether that qualifies, yeah, for sure.
Well, the second comment on page 5 was just, and I have not talked to Mark Manning yet, but it was this piece about. We have the clerk involved, city clerk involved in certain things, then all of a sudden. You're supposed to involve the city treasurer, who has nothing to do with this whole policy. And of course, I informed Mark Manning that this was his job, and he was like, oh, really? I'm supposed to do that? So I haven't gone back to him just saying, hey, it's okay with you, we'll just have people turn in the thing. But the bigger question really is the third comment, and that's just that the fact that this section is written like. You're supposed to notify the city treasurer if you get non-monetary property. So if someone brings you a thing. What if someone brings you a envelope full of cash? What then? What are you supposed to do with that? That's why I thought, this is weird.
Shouldn't it be monetary or non?
Really, that's what I think. I just thought, well, is there something I'm missing here? Because
This is confusing, because I think that first part's covered by the sentence before though. Like, that's why I don't quite get why.
You know, if that's most of the policy, like, you spent like, I don't know, so many hours even just getting it to this point.
Oh, no,
It
for
was
sure.
like this whole-
usually,
Every sentence was like.
Oh, no, I'm sure, and that's why it's like, so. I think this first sentence kind of says, includes.
Which
money.
first sentence are you talking
So,
about?
oh, sorry, the one right before, any gift not authorized by the subsection must be returned or transmitted to the city. And I think that would include cash or otherwise.
Yeah, that would refer to the definition of gift.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and then, but if you, and again, not entire, that's what I'm trying to parse out, but there's this additional notice kind of requirement for non-monetary property. And maybe it's to sort of kickstart the sale process potentially, referred to in the prior sentence.
Mm.
But yeah, I'm not familiar with kind of how we dispose of property that we end up with like that.
Yeah, okay, let's just mark this thing up, right? Any gift not authorized by this subsection must be returned to the donor or transmitted to the city. And I don't know if we put treasurer or clerk, but we don't need or turned over to the city, right? Because the whole point of giving it to the treasurer, that is the city. You're telling them who to give it to,
Right,
because
right.
otherwise, when you say turn over to the city, what does that mean?
right.
You giving it to the cop at the door? Are you giving it to the fire station or what? So if we took out or turned over by the city is what I'm thinking. Then you still have in there that the city has the option to either use it or sell it. And then the part about the notification, city clerk or treasurer shall be notified within 7 days of the receipt.
Maybe there's some,
I think you just need to be consistent, whether it's treasurer or clerk in both places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
figure out if there's some historical reason. What particular amount of notice about.
Let's just pulled from a different city. Yeah.
I think a lot of this was mishmashed
Hey,
information.
are the two working together? Because I see that you're returning it to the treasurer. You're giving it to the treasurer and then notifying the clerk, so the clerk can do what the clerk does.
Well, before it was just treasurer and treasurer
Yeah.
though, or the way it's currently written.
Yeah, it's
I-
saying, take the stuff to the treasurer and then also notify the treasurer within 7 days of receipt
Oh, that's. the-
if
okay.
it's non-monetary.
So I'm reading it cleaned up.
What if we just
Yeah, it's
said,
kind of both, right there, yeah.
Should the 7 days also apply to monetary as well?
that was my initial thing,
Yeah,
is
that's the
we
question.
just need to take out that non-monetary, because that's just goofy. What are you supposed to do if you got cash? And like a gift card, that's monetary, right? I mean, I wouldn't call that non-monetary, but maybe someone would. What if you just said, any gift not authorized must be
Yeah.
returned to the donor or transmitted to the city treasurer? Either that, or we change it and tell them that you notify. I mean, you could just take out the notification thing and just say, return it.
I think it does. Oh, sorry.
No. Who's notifying? Is it the treasurer notifying the clerk? Because if so, we don't need that in here.
No, I mean, the way it was written before is that it's passive, but shall be notified. And I was gonna say, if we want them to notify, we should say, if you received it, you call the treasurer and you tell him you have it and you wanna bring it to him.
I
But
think that's what, I think the benefit if we switch this to just gift instead of non-monetary property is to put a deadline basically on when you're supposed to report having received an offer for an unauthorized gift.
And we've already defined it.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which includes
Non-
non-tangible.
Yeah, my issue here would be like, if you got cash, there's no real defined amount of time of when you need to tell anybody about it, but there is for
Yeah, exactly. Glaring.
tangible
Yeah.
property, yeah.
So if we think we ought to have, hey, report this within 7 days, just rewrite the section to say, whatever you got, report it within 7 days and return it as soon as practicable or something like
Right.
that.
Now, is reporting it within 7 days, is that reasonable?
Okay, other parts of the policy, when we changed it last year, we changed it to business
I was
days.
just about to say,
So to make that consistent, we could put business days here.
let's definitely keep it consistent.
The report within 7 business days and return or, yeah, as soon as practical. Cause I'm. Maybe that's. Maybe we'll figure this. Are you okay with doing the next version as we're going along here?
Yeah, that should be fine, we'll probably kind of,
Okay.
yeah.
That'd be,
Yeah,
I was gonna
just
say,
sort
we
of
should have
double
just
check.
clarified who's gonna do first round and who's gonna review, but if you would, that would be awesome. Okay, shall we try to go to the next page? 6 has a comment on 30%, okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right. So this event thing, the council originally wrote the policy to apply differently to them versus the advisory board members. And so I just wanted to check in to say, do we think we ought to keep it the way they wrote it with that intent?
Because otherwise, if you don't include the board members, then if they do attend a nonprofit, I guess at the request, is that the trigger? If they attend an event hosted by a nonprofit institution, faith-based organization. Okay, so only at the request of an official, that's the triggering.
Well, I don't know, and this is a little confusing too, because it's like. The exception is that you can accept an honor, but the honor can't be more than $150, which you can't accept more than anyway. So I don't quite know how that one operates exactly, but the idea would basically be there's situations kind of like that where city council members would be accepted from the policy, but board members would not be able to do the same sort of thing, is kind of, I think, how it would function.
I'm thinking of it from if I'm a board member or advisory board member, if my husband gets invited to sit at the KLC table for something, am I now needing to report that and not eat, or?
Well, and you're not an official then, like, it's not because you're the official, I would say. So,
Number 3.
This is
In which-
pending.
Okay.
oh, I'm sorry, you went down to 3, my bad.
Well, no, it's
Yeah.
fine because the presence of an official is requested, so
Mhm.
that would never be.
Well, and that third is the third, and the first one's the one that applies in, let me block.
Does anybody else think the language compensate the member for food is weird?
Yes.
Okay, cause it sounds like I'm giving you cash.
Right.
So you can buy food, I
When
mean,
that's
it's,
never how it
no,
works. Well, now I am an official according.
But
to
I think the word compensate is supposed to be different than gift. I just meant, I'm sorry, if. Like your husband was the person invited and that's the reason that you're at the event. It's not really a gift to you as an official. You kind of receive the gift through your family, so it's more his connection to the organization.
Then on
It's how-
everything reportable that goes to my husband.
But then that's more, it's not to you, so it's not in
Okay.
your official duties, and that kind of gets back to the whole sort of layers of connection kind of. And the farther you get, but there are possibilities, obviously, when relatives do get gifts that could seek to influence your official whatever, but. That makes more sense as a council member, maybe, as like board members and things like that, but that's kind of it's a very sliding scale as I've kind of like tried to look at these at different times, but.
Trying to separate your rights as a private citizen.
Right, to go to things and eat.
Exactly.
And I do think we use the word compensate there just to distinguish between the gift language or payment or
I like
something.
to suggest
But
another, we always say comp, you comp this or you comp that. I think that really stands for like complimentary, right? So couldn't we maybe say, okay, so at the top of page 6, the third line, official, such organizations may provide complimentary food and admission to the event. And section 3, attending a meeting in the presence of an official is requested and accepting complimentary food at the meeting.
yeah.
That makes more sense.
That's better, isn't it?
Yeah.
That makes sense to you.
Yeah, I'd imagine, just looking at it too, there's probably some history where there was like. Yeah, meals being paid for and then basically meals being paid for. more.
Yeah.
No, you know, and if
Yeah.
that doesn't make as much sense, I think theoretically, then complementary works a lot better. It just seems like there, again,
Yeah.
history in each of these sentences is we're trying to tease out.
Compensating the member for food. Are they talking about a reimbursement?
They are, so that you have to pay to get in first.
Reimburse. And so, cause compensate sounds like you're paying them for something,
Yeah.
for food, you're paying them for food, like I'm buying it from you, so I'm gonna compensate you and the city council members giving me the food.
Right.
That's the transaction that it describes to me.
It's really the wrong verb. Cause nobody does. You just say, oh, you don't have to pay, come on in.
Yeah,
It's
that's
compensate.
exactly right.
Providing a complimentary ticket. Yeah, it's not compensate. I think somebody who originally drafted it. Like the spell, the little AI thing came up with compensate instead of complimentary.
Chat GPT wrote it.
Yeah.
Or they were worried about complimentary and wanted to put
Yeah,
that sort of
yeah.
layer in.
Yeah,
But
true.
again, that seems to create a lot of complication. But yeah, just to clarify, as the ethics policy is currently written, 2 and 3 are not exceptions for board members. So that's not the type of gift that you could accept.
Yeah, that's the main policy thing we need to talk about is that.
But that only is triggered kind of at the 50 levels anyway. So that's why I don't know how functional these exceptions really are, like
Yeah.
either direction, really, yeah. It's like I'm not gonna probably get a meal from a nonprofit that's much more than $150, you know. I got good connections then.
Even if it's an evening.
Yeah.
Still making some glasses of wine, it's still
That's a
not
pretty-
$100.
150, that's pretty.
I mean, I don't know.
Cost of the entrance.
Yeah.
To some of those though, right? Yes, so that's the difference.
In our capacity as a board member,
No, right?
Well, yeah,
Because it's
okay,
an official.
but this one's kind of,
but for our purposes, this is not an exception for us.
So we have to
So
report
would it
or
have-
decline.
but the question still comes up of whether it was given to you to be a gift that affects your official duties as part of the J part before.
Yeah, because that first line at the top of the page 6 says, in which the presence of an official is requested. So if you attend an event for your spouse, you're not attending because you weren't invited as an official of the city.
Okay.
But if somebody invited every board member here to something, then it was
Okay.
like, okay, official capacity, no.
And it has to be intended to influence. Okay.
I think that's the key, yeah, especially that sort of
This is-
the framing part of J.
Yeah.
So these
Okay.
exceptions are tied to the operative language of J, as you sort of defining what the gift is and which gifts are allowed and stuff like that too.
I'm sure council members are invited.
And that's the thing, and that's why some of these exceptions are written a lot more for their activity than board members, and this is probably the one place where the splitting up the definition might be helpful.
I think
Keep it, so we were thinking, keep it the way the exceptions are only for council
I think so.
members. Keep it the way they had it written, yeah, okay.
They're pretty good, kind of pretty good.
I don't know if people's involved, maybe,
Yeah.
boards and attend nonprofit things, I don't think we should discourage it. If it's a problem, we should address it.
But, and that's what's kind of, these are exceptions to that though, which is what's kind of confusing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so if I'm on the planning commission, I cannot attend a meeting that I was invited to that has complimentary food.
So
Right.
long as it's
doesn't have,
50.
and if it doesn't have the appearance, so it may, you know, if you're on the planning commission and you're attending a dinner sponsored by Hutton.
Yeah.
Then that might have an appearance, but you may be going because they're doing a charity, but something coming before you, you know, so there's kind of those careful lines that I think even board members would have to be really mindful of.
Yeah, and I do like your new language on given from a person or group of persons to an official who, when those who are conferring the gift have an interest in the city or an interest that may be affected by the performance or non-performance of the official, that,
Of that official, right?
yeah.
That's kind of narrows it.
Yeah, because say a nonprofit invited you and Hutton was a sponsor of the dinner.
Yeah.
Well, Hutton's not the one that gave you the free ticket to get in, the nonprofit is.
Unless you're sitting at the table.
Yeah, I mean, unless they were the ones who gave it to you. But the language makes it pretty clear, I think, that it has to be given by somebody with an interest in the city and an interest affected by your
That's why it's
performance.
defined that way.
Yeah.
So it is clear.
But all these people, all these organizations have an interest in the city by now. I think it could be argued.
I think you're absolutely right.
All the organizations that sponsor things also have an interest in the city as well.
But not all of those interests are affected by what.
Right, you just have to do the analysis.
It is, yeah.
You have to make sure that you're kind of careful of what you accept.
I mean, it's not bad to just sort of report necessarily either, I think.
That's no politician's answer.
No, I know, but this operates a whole lot differently, I think, for board members than, I think that's true. I think this operates though a lot differently for board members than council members.
Yeah, sure.
Because basically every time they go to one of these, that's kind of why they go. That's not really why the rest of us maybe go every time.
Yeah, good point.
Go see my friends.
I can kind of work on this. a
Yeah,
little bit
let's
too.
work
Yeah,
on it,
based
but
on
let's
all
keep
this.
the
Yeah.
same way it was written. The intent was before, because we don't have a reason to change their intent. We'll just try to clarify it. And I think the same with the 50, if we can just say, under 50, it's okay, it's not a gift, 50 to 150 is reporting, and don't take anything over 150, I'm not gonna see Bob about that. I think we just make it more clear the way they had it written before. And anything on page 7? Oh yeah, advisory. So, I mean, this was my thing. Most boards are advisory, but when you put it in, and I know that the definition in our policy is advisory board means all the boards and commissions. But to call ethics advisory board advisory, I think is a misnomer, because everything we've experienced this past year is this is a decision-making board. That's why the requirements are higher. You all don't decide something and it's a recommendation that goes to the council for their approval. They're looking to you to make the decision. And I just thought it seems more accurate to me to say it's the ethics board. And because I remember even people arguing this before we even got started with our work, saying, well, it's just advisory. The council can change things. And I was reading it and thinking, well, no, they can't. There's nothing in here that
Purpose of
says.
having the ethics
Yeah.
board for the council.
Yeah, exactly. So it is a watchdog over the council. They set it up on purpose with higher standards than every other board. So let's just call it what it is. And it's the ethics board. Okay.
Quick question, how do we distinguish between a council, commission, committee, and board? Is that language that you guys wanna think about if you're
We're
a board
okay.
versus something else?
Yeah, we're okay, I think, Maddie, because in our first section, like page 2, we defined under B, advisory boards means any board or commission created by the authority of the city. And whose members are appointed by the mayor, council, or manager. Because sometimes a city will set up a little board to work on something, a little committee to work on something, it won't even be appointed by the city council, it's just the manager just made some ad hoc group to do strategic planning or something like that. This makes it very clear, it doesn't matter who appointed you, you're covered on this policy by advisory board. But I think if we just recommend changing the name of this group, we kind of get rid of our EAB nomenclature. We've all got used to saying EAB now, but at least people don't think they're only advisory and people don't think that they can be overruled. There's nobody that can overrule this board. I mean, there's just no provision for that at all. There is no appeal. I don't believe I saw any, so. Okay, moving on to page 8 then. Oh, yeah. This is where we argued and developed the language about do a criminal background check when we made the recommendations in 2023 for the updates to the policy and said not to do the other one, civil background check. We landed on just criminal. What we didn't think of at the time was doing it before the appointment. And what I learned about the city's appointment process is they literally have this big elaborate city council agenda. And at the end, they sort of say, anybody want to appoint anybody to anything? And council members say, Jackie, you know, and at that point, none of the other boards require a criminal background check, or not very many of them. And so I just thought, oh my God, don't put someone's name out there in a city council meeting. And people think it's like a done deal. And it ends up taking 4 months to get a background check done, you know, that kind of thing. Because we don't want those people coming here to our meeting because they've been appointed when they really haven't met the requirements yet of the background check. So that's why we're putting that there.
Do you want to clarify that the background check needs to be cleared in that line, so we have consistency across the ordinances? Cause that's what Dante and Jennifer were getting at, cause my interpretation with that was she submitted to the background check.
Yeah.
She
That's
met
a
the
really good-
requirement.
Thank you. Yeah, so they even figured out this language wasn't good enough. Submit to criminal background check prior to city council approval. Submit
And pass.
how would you say that? Pass, clear? What do you think there?
Well, I mean, so like at 5, we have not be convicted of a felony or crime of moral turpitude, which is kind of how I would sort of like tie it together as written personally. I don't know if there's a
misdemeanors that.
exactly. No. Right. And do we want to define
We got
clear as we
Battery
include-
misdemeanor, domestic battery.
but to include all of those and
Yeah.
no, but that's kind of what I'm suggesting. There's a pretty wide range of them, right?
What if
Yeah.
we said something like submit to and complete a criminal background check? Something about completing the check as opposed to passing it or.
I'm in favor of passing.
But just
think
how do you
passing,
want-
completing,
what
just
do you
maybe
want
you
to pass?
finish
Yeah.
your form.
Yeah.
If you put that word out,
Out of curiosity, what is passing the score, so to speak?
there
I
isn't
don't
one, and that's
It
the
just
point.
kind of depends, like, and that's more what I meant, my apologies, like, because of the range of misdemeanors, for example, you know, are all of those the same in terms of pass, fail, or not?
Like if you're an employer and you run a check on somebody, you have to look at what comes up and decide, okay, can I live with that? Can I not live with that one?
Can we
Well, the job is-
submit and be accepted?
So we define, like Nate said, we say up here, no felony or crime of moral turpitude, which seems to be the measuring stick of your criminal background.
Well, does it require a conviction? Can it be a diversion?
Expunge.
Yeah, expunged.
Well, and that was.
It says convicted there, but we can broaden it, that's just kind of,
It was
How I
definition
tied it
of moral
together.
turpitude.
yeah.
There is a definition of moral turpitude,
But not in.
crimes of moral turpitude, yeah.
Yeah, it's not the clearest definition, but I would think it would include the misdemeanors that maybe you were
Like
alluding to
that,
before that were worse.
Yeah.
Versus some of the others that are, and that's why moral turpitude is not the easiest phrase notoriously, right? But like, it would maybe include some of those misdemeanors that are closer theoretically to felonies in terms of morality and whether you should be on the
Dishonesty.
ethics board.
Well, yeah, there's the dishonesty ones, but that's like a false check and that doesn't really include like battery or interference with a law enforcement officer.
It
Those
doesn't.
are crimes of moral turpitude.
Battery?
What do we just say, must complete
Sexual
a
battery?
criminal background check?
Yeah.
Right.
Sexual.
Domestic
Kansas
battery?
probably has Kansas
Um,
probably has a statute that covers it.
Those are all misdemeanors.
I'm used to dealing with the.
Of course, if it's done before
criminal
the
histories in
appointment,
federal court.
They'll look at it and decide
Crimes
if
of
it's bad enough
dishonesty.
Right.
to kick it up and say, no, it's the point.
Yeah, the standard is felony or moral
Because that's
turpitude,
more minor
and
than
moral,
initially.
good moral standing and reputation.
I
That's
don't
the
know what
standard.
moral turpitude.
And I think the nice thing
Right.
maybe of getting it to council before appointment is
Sexual
then the
battery is
council member
misdemeanor,
can
you have
decide
to
based on the
register
background
it.
check whether that person should be.
Turpitude.
I think if we
Well,
just say.
I don't really know
must
what that
complete a
means,
criminal
because there's the
background
crimes
check.
of dishonesty.
It gets her issue, instead of submit to it, it must.
The types of crimes we deal with.
I remember, but prior to,
What?
I remember.
Then it's left to the commission whether they're going to, or council whether they're going to do the appointment.
I can see why you would use that, but,
Okay, I think we're in violent agreement. Thank you for bringing that up. No, I'm really thankful because we were trying to solve one problem, but since that, we found that that one took so long, or is taking so long, it kind of created another problem. So if we just say must complete a criminal background check prior to the city council approval of appointment,
that's good.
then I think, yeah, I think that solves two problems anyway.
Now that we know just submitting to them isn't necessarily.
Yeah.
It could take months to,
Take months to get it done,
Oh.
yeah, crazy.
although. Takes my legal system.
No, they have a provider that does them for like HR, for new employees, and they had some
It's
software.
on with the system, yeah.
Something like the district courts or the state courts problem or something, shut their system down and they haven't been able to finish it, so. Anything on page 9, anything on page 10? This was, John's idea about defining the respondent, the person against whom the complaint is made, and then using that throughout the document to clear things up a little bit.
What about a PFA? Final order of PFA.
That's a good question.
That's not a misdemeanor, that's not a felony, it's not a crime.
Good.
You can serve on a board and be not allowed to go see somebody.
Right, but we have about moral turpitude.
And there's really good moral standing and reputation. I mean, that like, there's a few phrases who you tie it to,
A final order?
but we can be clear. It's either.
That's for the approval of county.
You can't have guns, but you can.
That's basically how it's set up, yeah.
You can't have guns in this Wild West, but you can serve on a board to make decisions for our city.
I mean, I wanna dig into that PFA.
No, we.
Yeah, the basis.
Anything on page 11?
No.
And on page 12.
Oh, I'm sorry, with complainants and respondents and the number of others, I meant to just put like an S in parentheses behind some of those too, just to kind of allow. If there are multiple parties named, that sort of thing throughout.
That's true. There could be 2 complainants. Remember the one case where 2 different guys did their own cases? on the same
Right, but they were
exact issue?
separate.
So there were 2, but couldn't you have 2 members named? Because we haven't had it yet. But I mean, I was just thinking, would there ever be more than one complainant?
Or more, is there any reason to not allow?
Yeah.
I think. maybe
Yeah,
more.
yeah, I was just, I think you're right. Put S's on. That
Okay.
sounds good.
It does say crime and moral turpitude.
Okay, page 12. Lines are only allowed when elected officials, not board members. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so this whole red stuff is just separating out what applies for fines and violations for the, so it's really clarifying, but it just makes it a little easier to understand, I think, that if you're elected, you can have to pay a fine. If you're an appointed board member, then it could, the worst thing is basically we could say city council, maybe you ought to unappoint them and remove them from that board. but you're not gonna give them financial.
Exactly.
I was about to say.
I know, right? Shall be on this board forevermore.
Tell me those exact behaviors.
Okay, page 13. Oh, it's almost done. 14.
Oh, and then 14, just to clarify, there's 2.04.050 and 0.070 in the current code, which is kind of our ethics ordinance, but really it's just a big paragraph that applies to city council with most of the vague terms that we've tried to define better in this. It does apply, and we draw a lot on like state ethics and stuff to try to define it, but the idea is for this to basically substitute in with 070 being application of that ethics rule basically to board members as well. So repealing those two sections to provide this as an
Yeah.
ordinance, basically.
Thank you for that. Yeah, the old ordinance, I can't remember how many years old it is. It's like half a page, but we had nothing to do. There's no enforcing unit on that. That's why they made the policy. They just didn't take away the ordinance. So,
Just didn't want there to be any conflict with it potentially. So.
okay, so I'm gonna ask this. Does anybody see any reason? I mean, we'll redraft and go back and forth with this. Does anybody want this to come before this body again in kind of a final form with next month's meeting? Or you've seen enough and we'll go ahead and get on city council agenda with your blessing and your advisory capacity of advising the council?
I am in agreement with the discussed changes.
Thank you very much. So well, I guess we'll keep the April 11th meeting on the books in case we have a complaint file between now and then. But we'll cancel it about a week ahead of time, like we've been doing for state. That's right. Use the time to get your taxes done, okay?
Done, already.
Okay, thank you, good work, you guys. Anything else?
Your little one, you're gonna be darn near grown up, since the last time I saw you.
Be ready for her birthday. I feel like.
I know. Oh, she's so sweet. We took her to Cancun. Yeah. And she was such a champ.
I'm so sorry.
Sweetest little girl.
I'm just Cancun ready apparently.
Now you are my kind of mama. Then.
Yeah.
Awesome. Travel those babies.
You
bet. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Appreciate you.
It's the best education.
Nathan.